In this video, I'm going to go over problems that are similar to what's on your 3.02 quiz. So this problem says, which ordered pair is the solution to this equation? Remember that if an ordered pair is a solution, it's going to make the equation true when you plug in for x and y. Remember that an ordered pair is an x and a y value. So let's try out these points and see which ones make this equation true. So my first point is 10, 2. So 10, 2 tells me that 10 is x and 2 is y. So if I plug into my equation, I get 3 times 10 plus 4 times 2 equals 16. So when we do this and we simplify, we get 30 plus 4 times 2, which is 8, equals 16, which says that 38 equals 16, which is false. So that means that this point is not a solution. Now let's try B. So if we have negative 2, 1, and we plug in for x and y, we get 3 times negative 2 plus 4 times 1 equals 16. So when we do this, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, plus 4 times 1 is 4, and that equals 16. So negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. We have negative 2 equals 16, which is false. So B is also not a solution. Now let's try answer choice C. We have 4, 1, which is a value of x and a value of y. So when we plug in, we get 3 times 4 plus 4 times 1 equals 16. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 4 times 1 is 4, and that equals 16. So 12 plus 4 is 16, which that is a true statement. So that means C is probably the correct answer, but let's just try D just to make sure. If we have 5, negative 3, that is an x and y value. So when we plug in, we get 3 times 5 plus 4 times negative 3 equals 16. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, and that equals 16. So 15 plus negative 12 is 3, so we have 3 equals 16, which is false, so that means D is not a solution. So let's write the equation now of the line given the following slope and y-intercept. Whenever we have a slope and a y-intercept, remember that gives us a value of m and a value of b, we can plug into y equals mx plus b form. That is slope-intercept form of a line. So it gives us m equals 5 and b equals negative 2, so we can plug into this equation and get y equals 5x plus negative 2. So this plus negative, we're going to go ahead and combine that, so we have y equals 5x minus 2, and that is the equation of our line. So now let's identify the equation of the line shown in the graph. Remember, when we write equations of lines, we're going to write them in y equals mx plus b form. So remember, to write in mx plus b form, we need a value of slope and we need a value of the y-intercept. So if we look at this line, we can see it has a y-intercept here at negative 3. So b equals negative 3. Now let's count the slope. So I'm going to pick another point and I'm going to draw my path in order to count slope. So from left to right, I'm going to go right 2 and I'm going to go up 1. So slope, which is m, is plus 1 over plus 2, which equals 1/2. So that means when I plug in, I get y equals 1/2 x plus negative 3. So I'm going to combine the plus negative, and I get y equals 1/2 x minus 3. So now let's select all statements that are true about the linear equation y equals negative 5x plus 3. So the first choice says the graph of the equation is the set of all points on the coordinate plane. Well, let's think about it. If it's the set of all points on the coordinate plane, that means the graph would just look like a big filled in coordinate plane, right? Because every single point that's on here would be a solution to the equation. Well, that's not what the graph looks like. So we know that this is not true, right? Because this is the equation of a line. This is in y equals mx plus b form. So we know that the graph will be a line. The next answer choice says the point 1, negative 2 is on the graph of the equation. Well, we know that if it's on the graph, then it's going to be a solution to the equation. So we're going to plug in the values and see if it makes the equation true. So we have 1, negative 2, which gives us an x and y value. When we plug in, we get negative 2 equals negative 5 times 1 plus 3. So that means we have negative 2 equals negative 5 plus 3. So that means that negative 2 equals negative 2. And that is true. So this is the true statement. 1, negative 2 is on the graph of the equation. Then it says the graph of the equation is a set of points that are solutions to the equation. Well, that's true, right? Because if we graph this equation, every single point that's on the graph is going to be a solution. So that means that this is actually a true statement. And then it says the point 0, 4 lies on the graph of the equation. Well, let's try 0, 4. So 0, 4 gives us an x and y value. So if we plug into this equation, we'll get 4 equals negative 5 times 0 plus 3. So we have 4 equals negative 5 times 0 is 0 plus 3. And so 4 equals 3 is false, so that is not a true statement. So only these middle two statements are true about this equation. Now let's figure out which graph represents y equals 4x minus 1. Once again, we have an equation in slope-intercept form. So from this, we can identify that b equals negative 1, and then m equals 4. So b equals negative 1 means I have a y-intercept at 0, negative 1. So let's first identify which graph has a y-intercept at negative 1. Well, this has a y-intercept at negative 3. This one does have a y-intercept at negative 1. And then the last graph has a y-intercept at 5. So neither of these graphs will work. Let's just double check slope to make sure. So slope of 4 tells us that we have up 4, right 1. So let's make sure that's what's going on in this graph. So if we look at it, we have the second point right here. So we go right 1, and then we go up 4 in order to have my second point. So this is correct. This is the graph of 4x minus 1.